Tonpo. This guy is known as the, he crushes rookies in the hunter exam, crushes their spirit, so they don't ever dream of taking the hunter exam again. He gets enjoyment from doing purely that. He's not even there to like get his license. He's been there so many times. He knows the people who also came back, but he likes to crush the rookies. Crush their spirit so they don't come back. He's like, hey, I get enjoyment from that. But he like acts like everybody's friend at first. He gives them juice and he's like, hey, we're gonna be here for a little bit before this starts. You might as well take some juice. And then, they started feeling bad. You know, Kilo, on the other hand, wasn't feeling bad because, he comes from a family of assassins. Poisons don't affect him, certain ones. The shit that he had was like laxative. You put it inside of a drink, you know. The laxative was gonna, make them their stomach hurt and, everything else. You know, make it so they couldn't move effectively during the hunter exam. But it backfired on them, with Kilo. He then, was on their team because they had to get in groups and shit, right? And they went against the prisoners, and he was, like, I'll try to fight against these guys, but then he was like, nah, I'm not doing that. He was basically trying to sabotage them the whole time. The whole entire time. You know, Eventually, he just, gave up because they kept, doing well, even though he was there, dragging them down. He even tried to say he snatched badges too during the badge snatching part of the exam. He was snatching niggas' badges and stuff. He was not a good, contender to get his, hunter's license. Kind of no different than Leario. But at least Leorio wanted to, like I said, get his license. This guy, he just like fucking with people, keeping them down so they don't get their license on the first try and they never try again. But unfortunately, they were fucking with Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio. They were determined. They didn't give a fuck what he was doing. They knew his game. But strength is a 77, speed 76, durability 82. 79 for his endurance and an 84 for his intelligence, 84 for his experience, and a 75 for close skills, 76 for range skills, 78 for recoup, and an 80% for his hacks. Overall power score is a 79.2 for Rambo. Be cool, calling the corner.